Why do brains put candy under their pillows? So they can have sweet dreams. What did the doctor say to the man with an elephant sitting on his head? It looks like you have a lot on your mind. Why didn't the brain want to take a bath? It didn't want to be brainwashed. What kind of bees eat brains? Zombies. Last one. What is soft and wrinkly but gets sharper when you use it? Your brain. This last joke, well, these were all brought to you by kids. The last one was by a second grade student. Welcome to Sunday Springboard with Melanie and Kimberlyn Coaching, where we help women recover from and flourish after stress and trauma. This is week 3 of our series on recovering from stress and trauma. We've talked about how our brains want to protect us, and we've talked about what this does to our bodies. We've talked about being in Hulk mode or Bruce Banner mode. We've talked about some ways to calm ourselves, regulate ourselves with some breathing exercises. If you've missed those last 2 videos, you can find them on my website, KimberlynCoaching.com. Look on the Springboard page and you can catch up with us. So we know that our brains want to keep us safe and out of danger, but they're also a bit lazy and they want to use the least amount of energy they can. Think about when you're first learning to do something like driving a car. You have to think of so many things. You have to think of how to use the accelerator, the brake, the steering wheel, the turn signal, the mirrors, while watching in front and watching behind, all these things that you have to think about as you drive. But when you drive now, do you think of all those things? For the most part, no, you just drive. You just get in the car, it's become a habit, you turn on the key and you just drive. And for the most part, you don't even think about any of those little steps that you originally had to think so closely about. These instructions have been memorized into your brain and you just get in the car and drive. So hang on a minute while I share my screen. Okay, today we are talking about road construction on the highway of our brain. Okay, so the brain is stuffed with approximately 100 billion neurons. Each of these neurons can have 10,000 to 100,000 synaptic connections on each neuron formed from other neurons. That's a lot of rabbit trails. We're going to look at those in a minute. But first, let's kind of get an analogy of what our brain is like. Think about if you're in a desert. You're walking through this desert. There's no trail really. You're just walking through, you're stepping in holes, there's bumps and rocks and you're going pretty slow because you're having to maneuver around all the obstacles. As you continue walking this trail and as other people behind you start walking this trail, it gets kind of more into a hardened path here. Now you can see this and it's easier to walk. You're not slowed down as much. You can walk a little faster. And then maybe the highway department notices, hey, there's a lot of people traveling on this road and let's pave it. So then they pave it, so it turns into a dirt road, and then they pave it and it becomes a highway. Now you can move faster and you don't have all those bumps and those holes and all the things that are slowing you down. And then eventually it may turn into a super highway. Our brains are like this super highway. They're actually like all of this together. Inside our brain, we have these fast neural paths like the freeway. We have the neighborhood roads, the trails, the dirt roads. We have all these different road type things, connections in our brain. So when we learn something, a connection is made. And the more times that we experience that same connection, the same words, the same experience, the pathway fires again and again. And after it does it a couple times, your brain starts saying, hey, I think this is pretty important. I think we need to pave this. So it's, hang on, we're going to wait for a minute on that one. So it starts paving your pathway. See, like here, see, this is the neuron. The neuron is kind of like a tree. It has all these little branches. And as your brain starts realizing, hey, this is important, it starts wrapping this myelin around and around and around the nerve fiber. When this myelin gets wrapped around and insulated, it speeds up the it makes it faster how fast your neurons can transmit and run back and forth. Here's an example of what one looks like when it's got a lot of insulation around it. That insulation speeds up the connection. So let's say normally just an everyday connection, you may be traveling, it may travel like, let's say 2 miles an hour. If you get a lot of insulation of this myelin because you have done something so many times, then it can go up to 200 miles per hour. So I want to back up a minute. I wanted to show you, this is an actual recording of the brain connections in our brain connecting and being disconnected. So hang on, let's watch this. This is as you're learning. Now watch these come together. Isn't that amazing? Okay, now we're going to watch one be torn apart, called pruning. So now watch very carefully. Hopefully you can see this. Did you see that? It was torn apart. And these are just new memories being made in this brain. And every experience that we have changes our brain. I think that is fascinating. So used to, scientists and medical people used to think that our brains quit growing after a certain point, quit changing. And you know, the saying, you can't teach an old dog new tricks. Thankfully, they have found out that that is absolutely not true. There's a word called neuroplasticity, and this means that your brain can change. Our brains are like muscles. They can change and grow. So when our brain is making our habits, it doesn't really care whether we like them or not. It just cares what it thinks is important. Our brain can make habits for us, good habits or bad habits. It doesn't matter. If we do something a certain amount of times, then this turns into a habit. Because remember, I told you that our brain wants to use the least amount of energy it can. It wants to be efficient. So what does this mean for us? It's good and bad, right? So when we think of the things that we're doing, maybe we're beating ourselves up for things that we've done, and we realize these are just habits our brains have created over the years. And just because we've done it so many times. And so that's the good part, is that the brains can change. The bad thing is that if we've done this so many times, if you've got 40 years of doing this certain thing, you've got a lot of myelin around your neuron, and it's going to take a while to break the habit. The good thing is you can be compassionate with yourself. You can tell yourself, you know, this took me a while to get here. It's going to take me a while to get over it. How do we do this? So here's just a couple ideas. We're going to keep on talking about this through the years, through the weeks, maybe for years. I mean, it's definitely a fascinating subject. So first of all, let's just start noticing the things that we're doing out of habit. If you have been married to someone who has been abusive, if you've been married to someone who's not abusive, all the situations that you're in, so many things that you're doing and thinking are out of habit. You're not even deciding, do these still serve me now? Maybe something that maybe you lived you had an abusive childhood, and you developed certain behaviors that helped you at that point. Now, maybe you're not in the same situation, but you're still doing those behaviors because your brain created a habit for them. So just start noticing the things that you're doing. Am I thinking this out? Is this something that I want to keep? Question yourself. Do I want to keep it? Do I want to discard it? Is this something that is serving me now or not? Now, just because you just decide that you don't want to do this anymore, you still may have to do some work to change it. One of the ways that we can make changes are with mini habits. Let's say you want to create a new habit. Maybe you want to create an exercise habit. Then doing tiny, tiny little mini habits will help you. Again, we're going to talk about those in some other weeks. The one tool I want to give you today is called direction correction. Now, with direction correction, we are going to start a sentence and then we're going to find answers for it. The sentence is, I am the kind of person who, okay? And then you just put in there who you want to be in response to whatever is going on. I've heard several of the things that I learned in all of these trauma videos I've made have come from the Arizona Trauma Institute and from James Garrett, who is the founder of Brain by Design. So I'm going to give them the credit for all this. I've taken a lot of it and kind of merged it together and come up with this tool. So I call it a DC. Okay. So if you want to think about it, if you want to do some DCs today, these are direction corrections. I'm the kind of person who. I started this because I was trying to work on my eating. If y'all know me, you know that my food and my eating have been an issue all my life. So I started saying, I am the kind of person who makes good decisions about food. I'm the kind of person who can say no to myself. I'm the kind of person who doesn't have to have immediate gratification. I'm the kind of person who is willing to do what it takes to get what I want. Right? I can come up with many more. And so what I started doing was through the day, I just started saying these things to myself. When I thought about eating, I'd say, I'm the kind of person who doesn't have to eat just because the thought comes into my brain. I'm the kind of person who can delay immediate gratification now for the goal at the end. I'm the kind of person who wants a strong, healthy body more than I want to eat junk, right? You can just keep coming up with things. Now, what was interesting about this was as I started doing it, it started becoming a kind of a game. I just kept thinking of things and I started doing things that were not anything to do with my eating. Just whatever came up. I'm the kind of person who doesn't get mad when someone cuts me off in traffic. I'm the kind of person who likes to have a clean house. I'm the kind of person who is patient when fill in the blank. Now, I'm thinking that you have already come up with some ideas of the kind of person you are. If you have, put them in the chat. Now, here's some things I want to talk about. Now, for many years, I've heard about, you do these affirmations, you write these affirmations out and you pin them on your mirror and then you read them every day. I'm a good person. I'm a worthy person. People love me. People care about me. I'm not saying there's anything wrong with that. I've done it before and it is helpful, even though sometimes it feels really weird. That's not what this is. These are not affirmations pinned to a mirror. This is not fake it till you make it. This is not forcing yourself to believe something. This is changing your brain by changing the connections. I have a connection that when I think of food, I go eat it. That connection has got a lot of myelin around it. So when I stop and I say, I'm the kind of person who doesn't have to eat just because I think of it, I've taken off a little layer of myelin. When you do these things, you are changing your brain. You're not just faking it. And you don't have to believe it. It has nothing to do with believing it. You don't have to believe it before you say it. You don't have to believe it after you say it. You do need to try to say it out loud if at all possible. It is more effective. Writing things out and saying things out are more effective than thinking things. Thinking is better than nothing, but if you're talking about changing your brain, you want to say it or you want to write it. And for a direction correction, you want to say it whenever you can. So this is a paragraph about direction correction. A friend of mine, she and I kind of tried this out to start off with, and we've been kind of tweaking the tool. And this is what she has to say about it. And I think this is a wonderful description of what this tool can do for you. She says a direction correction is a forward-thinking prediction, a principle-based projection. It's a question. What kind of person am I? With the answer built in. An answer decided by me in the moment. It is a declaration to live up to. It interrupts my now, my present, and jolts me to think about my desired state of being. It encourages me to not give up and builds my confidence that I can do differently than I have done. It reminds me of who I want to become and how I can get there. It's like a direction correction. That's how we got the name of it. A chess move, an internal compass to guide your path. So here's some more ideas to get you started. Let's say you have, maybe you have left your abusive husband and you're trying to have no contact. So you could say, I'm the kind of person that doesn't have to give in to his pressure when he tries to get me to talk to him or text him. I'm the kind of person who is not worried about whether he's off with someone else already. I'm the kind of person who is okay with living alone. I'm the kind of person who does not have to have a man to be happy. That's not to say I might not want a relationship. I'm the kind of person who would enjoy a relationship, but I'm the kind of person that doesn't have to have one. I'm the kind of person who is strong enough to make it on her own. I'm the kind of person who can get a job, who can work at a job, who can enjoy a job. I'm the kind of person who can raise my children. Do you see these ideas? Whatever comes up in your day, make a direction correction. You'll be amazed at how imaginative you can be, all the things that you can put here, anything you want to be. I'm the kind of person who makes enough money I can retire early. I'm the kind of person who makes enough money I can travel and see things. I'm the kind of person who can make enough money to give money to other people and help people and go on mission trips. Whatever it is you want to be and do. You don't have to believe it before it. You don't have to believe it afterwards. Just keep saying them and keep changing your brain. So final thoughts. I'm the kind of person who direction correction is an exercise of the imagination. It is getting to decide who you want to be. And it is actually changing your brain one connection at a time. Don't forget, I am offering a free coaching session to anyone who is interested. I would love to help you work some of these things out in your life. There is a link in the show notes that you can use to schedule our free coaching session. And I am looking forward to visiting with you. And I hope you all have a great week. Bye-bye.